So I finally did have another dream yesterday, and there was a person in that dream that I know in this reality. Not in person, but someone I know online. And it was really interesting. This dream again had elements, I think, sort of relating to the previous dream where I was in Chicago and we had people displaying very distressing and peculiar behaviors. This was similar in some ways, but it was completely different too because, well, let me just get into it. Basically, I was sitting with this person on a couch that I know in this reality, and we're watching TV, and we're just seeing like some kind of normal what seems to be like something going on in a park. There was people playing around. There was, I don't know, a gathering of some kind taking place. And I take notice that the people in the TV, the characters were morphing and shape shifting into something that is almost impossible to describe. Um, it looked like their faces were turning into wood, but it wasn't just your standard wood. Like it looked like the wood that you would see on an old, dying, decaying tree, and they're they're they were turning into this creature, and it looked really off-putting and kind of grotesque. And so I'm sitting next to this person, and I'm asking if they're able to see what I'm seeing, and they said no. So I got really bothered by this. So I got up and started to walk around, and I was asking people in the house, I don't know who they were, I was in some house, if they knew what was going on, what this was, why am I seeing this? And then I noticed their faces started to turn into not wood, but stone. Uh, it looked like they were turning into gray stone. And it was kind of almost supernatural the way that it was shifting. Almost had this like ethereal quality to it. And I just sort of got away. And then there was another scene. Things completely changed now. And I'm in this large auditorium. And I go there and I introduce myself to all these different people, regular looking people, nothing deformed, nothing out of the ordinary. And they sit down and it goes dark and they watch this massive TV screen. But when they started watching it, they became absolutely transfixed and mesmerized by what they were seeing. They were absolutely like stones frozen in place. I get up, I look around, and they weren't moving an inch. They were like mannequins. It didn't even look like they were breathing. So I'm like really starting to freak out a little bit here because I'm the only one who's not in this condition. And I don't remember what they're watching on the screen. For some reason, whatever was on the screen was always in my periphery, and I wasn't able to see what it was. So I got up and I go to the corner of this auditorium theater, whatever it was. It didn't really look like a standard movie theater. It looked much bigger, um, like massive, like this massive black cube It was very dark in there. Everything was colored black. And they were just frozen looking at the screen. And then I started seeing it again. I started seeing faces turning into stone, turning into wood, turning into these various varieties, and it looked grotesque. It wasn't appealing. It wasn't pleasant to look at. It was really scary. The way that it was happening, it looked really creepy. So I go outside, and outside there is this absolutely dismal, massive fog. This fog was dark. It wasn't night. It didn't look like it was night, but this fog was so dark that I couldn't make out what was in front of my face. I was just immersed in this fog. And so that kind of freaked me out, and I start going towards the theater again. And at this point, there was people that were noticing that I was going out, that I was leaving. And so they started staring at me, and I could see their faces turning to stone and to wood. And I almost started to panic at this point. And so I run into the fog. And that was what I could recall. Now, what is the meaning of this? Wood, stone. I was sort of thinking to myself, maybe this implied earth or mineral elements. They are going back into the earth. This did look like it was a manifestation of a different dimension. It didn't look like it is something that is occurring here or would occur here, but I don't know. Anything's possible. It felt and looked like a real place that was actually manifesting these things. Now, if it's not, and it's related to my life here, and all dreams are somehow related anyway, what are they looking at? What were they watching in the auditorium? What were they so transfixed by that they were frozen in place? And did what they were watching, did it cause them to turn to stone and to wood? It sort of reminded me of the pillars of salt in the Bible. How, I don't remember exactly the passage, but I think it was Sodom and Gomorrah, the destruction related to that, and people were turned into pillars of salt. But it's not that they were just turned into that. It's like only specific features were turning into that. Is this kind of part of the next Armageddon symbolism, where this next cycle, this next earth cycle, where they will be turned back into the earth? They will become part of the earth again. I don't know. You tell me.